At exactly 3:33 in the morning, my phone rings, always at the same time, always the same silence, and then that breathing. It is not just any breathing. It is slow, deep, as if someone were standing right next to my bed, watching me sleep. The first night I thought it was a mistake, the second night a prank. But when you have spent 42 consecutive nights listening to that breathing at 3:33 in the morning, you can no longer call it a coincidence. My name is Evelyn Turner. I am 66 years old, and this is the story I never thought I would have to tell. It all started 3 years ago when I lost my son Michael. He was 34 years old, he was an architect, he liked his coffee very strong white linen shirts and walking barefoot through the patio of our family home. He had a contagious laugh and a way of looking at the world that made you feel like everything was going to be okay. Michael died in a traffic accident one October afternoon. Rain. Wet asphalt. A truck that did not brake in time. They told me he did not suffer. I never believed them. When someone loses a child, the world does not stop. It simply shatters. And you go on living in the pieces. The first few months were a long and silent void. Then came the ritual. Visiting his grave every Sunday. Talking to him as if he could still hear me. Keeping his clothes in cardboard boxes that I never had the courage to open. But 6 months ago, something changed. Things started happening. Small things. So small that at first I ignored them. Michael's coffee mug, that blue ceramic one with his name engraved, appeared in places where I had not left it. On the dining room table, on the windowsill, once in the bathroom. I lived alone. No one else had keys to the house. Then the noises started. Footsteps on the floor above, soft, as if someone were walking barefoot on the wood always at night. Always near his old room. One night I went up and opened the door. Everything was in order exactly as I had left it 3 years ago. But when I went down, I smelled something. Freshly brewed coffee. I had not made coffee. And then the calls began. The first time the phone rang at 3:33 in the morning, I thought it was an emergency. I picked up the receiver with my heart in my throat. Hello, silence. Who is speaking? Nothing. And then that breathing. Slow, constant. As if someone were waiting for me to say something, as if they wanted me to know they were there. I hung up. I sat on the bed trembling. The second night it rang again. At the same time, the same breathing. The third night I did not answer. I let it ring. 22 rings. I counted them all. But the fourth night I answered again. I do not know why. Maybe because I needed to understand. Michael, I whispered. The breathing stopped, and then a click. The line went dead. Weeks passed. The calls never stopped. Always at 3:33. Always the same breathing. Never a word. I stopped sleeping. I started taking pills. I disconnected the landline, but then my cell phone started ringing. I changed my number. 2 days later, the calls returned. My friends told me to see a doctor. It is grief, Evelyn. You are hearing things that do not exist. But I knew I was not crazy, because one night, while the phone was ringing, I ran up to the second floor, and when I passed Michael's room, the phone on his desk was off the hook. That was the night I knew something was very, very wrong. I picked up Michael's phone with shaking hands. I put it to my ear. On the other side, I heard my own voice, answering, saying hello from the ground floor. I hung up immediately. I ran down. I checked all the doors, all the windows. Everything was locked. No one had entered. No one alive. That was when I made a decision. I hired a telecommunications technician. I explained the situation without mentioning Michael. I told him someone was stalking me, that I needed to know where those calls were coming from. Are you sure you want to know? He asked me. Completely sure. He installed a call tracker. He told me that in 48 hours I would have the answer. 2 nights later at 3:33 in the morning, the phone rang again. I answered. The breathing was there, closer than ever. And then I looked at the tracker screen. What I saw froze my blood. The call was coming from inside my own house. Second floor, north room, Michael's room. I walked up the stairs slowly. Every step creaked under my feet. The hallway was dark, but the door to his room was ajar. There was a light inside, dim like that of a candle. I pushed the door. And what I saw, no. I cannot tell you yet. I need you to understand everything that came before. I need you to know what my life was like before that night. Before the truth destroyed everything I believed about love, death, and my own family. Because what I discovered in that room was not a ghost. It was something much, much worse. Have you ever trusted someone with all your heart and then discovered that trust was your worst mistake? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read you. There are things a mother never forgets. The smell of her son's hair freshly washed. The sound of his steps coming down the stairs every morning. The way he always left his coffee cup half finished, as if he was in too much of a hurry to live. Michael was like that. Everything about him was urgent, intense, complete. When he died, they told me, "Time heals everything, Mrs. Turner." But no one tells you that time also teaches you to live with ghosts. Let me take you 3 years back to the days after the funeral. The house was full of people, cousins I had not seen in years. Neighbors bringing casseroles, pies, sweet bread. All with the same uncomfortable expression, looking for the right words that never exist. "Evelyn, if you need anything." "Evelyn, we are with you." "Evelyn, God has his reasons." I nodded, smiled, thanked them, but inside I was completely empty. My husband Richard had died 7 years earlier, pancreatic cancer. Michael was the one who held me up back then. He took me to the market on Saturdays, made me coffee every morning, reminded me that there were still reasons to get up. Now he was gone too. And I was alone in this 3-story house with too many rooms and too many memories. The first few months were mechanical. I got up, showered, made coffee. I did not drink, watch television without seeing anything, waited for night to come, to go back to bed. The only visits I received were from my daughter-in-law, Sarah. Sarah had been married to Michael for 5 years. She was from out of state, blonde thin, with those green eyes that seemed transparent, always polite, always correct, but I never felt close to her. I do not know if it was her personality or something deeper. There was a distance between us, as if we were speaking from opposite sides of a glass wall. After Michael's death, Sarah sold the house where they lived. She told me she could not stay there, that every corner reminded her of him. "I am going back to stay with my family for a while, Evelyn. I need to be away." "Of course, honey, I understand." I did not see her again for 2 years, but 6 months ago Sarah returned to the city. She came to visit me one Sunday afternoon. She rang the doorbell 3 times before I opened. When I saw her, I almost did not recognize her. She had lost a lot of weight. She had deep, dark circles under her eyes. Her hair, which she always wore perfectly styled, was tied back in a messy ponytail. "Evelyn," she said, and her voice cracked. "I need to talk to you." I let her in. I made her some tea. We sat in the living room in front of the photograph of Michael that I kept on the mantelpiece. "What happened, Sarah?" She looked at the cup in her hands. She took a long time to answer. "Strange things, Evelyn. Things I cannot explain." "What kind of things?" "Dreams, nightmares. Sometimes I feel like Michael is still here, that he is looking for me, that he wants to tell me something." I stayed quiet because I had started to feel the same thing. "Have you noticed anything weird in this house?" she asked me. "Weird how I do not know. Noises, objects moving, things that should not be there." My heart started beating faster, but I did not tell her anything. Not yet. "Sarah, grief makes us see things that—" "No, Evelyn." She interrupted me, looking straight into my eyes. "I am not crazy. I know what I am feeling." She took an envelope out of her purse. She put it on the table. "I found this in my mailbox 3 days ago. It has no return address." I opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph. It was a photo of Michael and Sarah taken in the garden of this very house, both smiling, hugging, happy. But the photo was altered. Someone had drawn a red cross over Sarah's face. "Who would send you this?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "I do not know. That is why I came. I thought maybe you—" "I did not send anything, Sarah, I know. But I need to know if anyone else has access to Michael's things, to his photographs, to his memories." I stared at her. There was something in her eyes, fear, but also guilt. "Sarah, is there something you are not telling me?" She lowered her gaze. "Michael and I, Things were not right between us before he died. What do you mean we were having problems, arguments? He spent a lot of time away from home. I thought maybe there was someone else. I felt as if I had been punched in the chest. Was Michael unfaithful to you? I do not know. I never had proof, but there were calls. Messages he deleted. Nights he did not come back until very late. And you never talked to him, I tried. But every time I asked, he got angry. He told me I was being paranoid, that I was suffocating him. Sarah started to cry. The last time I saw him, we had a terrible fight, Evelyn. I said horrible things to him, and he stormed out of the house furious. 2 hours later, I got the call from the hospital. I reached out and took her hand. It was not your fault, Sarah. How can you be sure? Because couples fight. Because that is life. But that does not mean you caused his death. She nodded, but she did not seem convinced. She stayed a while longer. We talked about other things. Happier memories. Stories of Michael when he was a child. When she left, it was already dark. I closed the door. I stood in the hallway looking at the photograph with the red cross. And that was when I heard something upstairs. A thud. Loud. As if someone had dropped something heavy. I walked up the stairs slowly. The second-floor hallway was dark. I turned on the light. The door to Michael's room was open. I had left it closed that morning. I knew it for certain. I went in. Everything was in its place. His desk, his bookshelf, his bed perfectly made. But in the center of the room on the rug was the blue coffee cup, Michael's cup, and it still had coffee inside. Hot coffee. Steaming. I backed away. I left the room. I locked the door. That night, I could not sleep. I sat in the living room with all the lights on, watching the clock. At 3:32 in the morning, I took my cell phone. I placed it in front of me. At 3:33, it started ringing. I answered. Silence. And then that breathing. "Who are you?" I whispered. "What do you want from me?" The breathing became louder, closer. And then for the first time in all those weeks, I heard a voice. It was barely a whisper, distorted, as if it came from very far away, but I managed to understand what it said. 2 words, only 2 words. "Mom, help me." I dropped the phone. It fell to the floor. I stood paralyzed, trembling, with tears running down my face, because that voice belonged to Michael. I know what you are thinking, that I am crazy, that grief is making me hear things, that it is impossible. But when you are a mother, you know your child's voice. You know it like you know your own breathing. And that was his voice. I got up. I ran up to the second floor. I opened the door to his room. I turned on the light. And what I saw took my breath away. The walls were covered in photographs, hundreds of photographs, all of Michael. Some I recognized, others I had never seen. And on each one, someone had written a word with a red marker. "Help me, help me, help me." Over and over again, on all the photos, on all the walls. I screamed. I ran out of the room. I stumbled down the stairs. I reached the living room. I grabbed my phone. I was going to call the police. Someone. Anyone. But then I realized something. If I called the police, they would think I was crazy. They would take me to a hospital. They would ask me questions I could not answer. And if there really was something in my house, I was alone. Completely alone. I spent the rest of the night sitting on the armchair, with a kitchen knife in my hands, waiting, listening. When dawn broke, I went up to Michael's room again. The photographs had disappeared. The walls were clean, as if nothing had happened. But on the desk, there was a note, handwritten, in Michael's handwriting. "Mom, do not trust anyone, not even Sarah." Have you ever received a sign from someone who is gone? Do you believe in coincidences? Or do you believe that those we love never leave us completely? Tell me in the comments. There are lies that protect, and there are lies that destroy. All my life I believed I knew the difference, that I could recognize the truth when I looked it in the eye. But sometimes the truth has no face. It has masks, and every mask hides another deeper lie. After finding that note with Michael's handwriting, I made a decision. I was not going to run. I was not going to call a priest or a psychiatrist. I was not going to let fear drive me out of my own house. If something or someone was playing with me, I was going to find out who and why. Over the next few days, I started investigating. I went through all of Michael's things I had stored in boxes. His clothes, his work notebooks, his old cell phones. I found one that still had battery life, an old iPhone from 4 years ago. I turned it on. It had messages. Most were normal conversations, work stuff, messages with friends, some arguments with Sarah about everyday things, groceries, dentist appointments, plans for the weekend. But there was one number that had no saved name. It only appeared as M. I opened the conversation. The last message was from 3 days before Michael's death. M, I cannot go on like this. You have to make a decision. Michael, I know. Give me time. M, I already gave you 3 years. Michael, please understand that it is complicated. M, complicated. Or is it that you do not have the courage? After that, nothing else. I stared at the screen for a long time. 3 years. The same amount of time Michael had been married to Sarah before dying. So Sarah was right. Michael had been seeing someone else. I needed to know who M was. I called the number. It rang 5 times. Then a recording. The number you dialed is not available. I tried searching the number online. Nothing. Then I remembered that Michael had an email account he used for work. Maybe I would find something there. It took me 2 hours to remember the password. I tried birthdays, names, important places. Finally, I got it. It was the name of our dog from when Michael was a boy, combined with the year he graduated from college. I logged in. There were hundreds of emails, mostly from clients, colleagues, suppliers. But in the drafts folder, I found something. An unsent email dated 2 days before his death. The recipient was Sarah, and the subject said, "I'm sorry." I opened the email. "Sarah, I do not know how to tell you this. I have tried to find the right words for months, but they do not exist. I made a mistake I should never have made, and now I do not know how to fix it without destroying everything we have built. There are things I did, things I cannot undo, lies I told, decisions I made thinking they were right, but now I know were just acts of cowardice. I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you, that I always loved you. But I also need you to know that I cannot keep living this lie. I am sorry. Michael." The email ended there incomplete, as if he had been interrupted, or as if he had not had the courage to finish it. I read the message 5 times. Each time I felt a knot tighter in my stomach. What lie? What decisions? What was it that Michael could not undo? That night, Sarah came to visit me again. She rang the doorbell at 7 in the evening. She was carrying a bag of sweetbread and 2 coffees from a shop nearby. "I thought maybe you needed company, Evelyn." I let her in. We sat in the living room, but this time I looked at her differently. I was trying to look for signs, cracks in her mask, something to tell me if she knew or if she was also being deceived. "How have you been?" she asked me. "Fine. Busy organizing some of Michael's things. Did you find anything interesting?" There was something about the way she asked. Too casual, too rehearsed, nothing important. I lied. "Old clothes, work papers." She nodded. She took a sip of coffee. "Evelyn, I need to ask you something. Tell me, did Michael ever talk to you about problems with me? Why do you ask?" "Because," she looked at her cup, "because I am trying to understand what happened. Why did things get so difficult between us at the end?" "All couples have problems, Sarah. I know, but this was different. He was distant, absent, as if he were living in another world. Do you think he had a lover?" The question left my mouth before I could stop it. Sarah remained silent. Then she nodded slowly. Yes, I think so. Do you have proof?" "No, just intuition, and little things, deleted messages, calls he would not answer in front of me. Once I found a receipt from a restaurant we never went to together." "And did you confront Michael?" "Yes, several times, but he always denied it. He told me I was being paranoid, that work stress was affecting me." Sarah looked me straight in the eyes. "Do you think he cheated on me?" "Evelyn, I could have told her the truth. I could have shown her the messages with the unfinished email. But something stopped me, because if Sarah knew nothing, then maybe she was also in danger. And if Sarah did know something, then I needed to know how much she was willing to lie. I do not know, Sarah. Sons do not tell their mothers everything. She let out a bitter laugh. You are right. No one tells anyone everything. Sarah stayed late. We talked about unimportant things, the weather, the city, how hard it was to live with memories. When she left, it was almost 11 at night. I locked the door. I put the latch on. I went to my room. I changed my clothes. I got into bed. And I waited. At 3:32 in the morning, my phone started vibrating. I picked it up. I looked at the screen. Unknown number, I answered. Silence, then the breathing. I know you are there, I said, and I know you are not Michael. Michael is dead. So who are you? The breathing stopped, and then a voice, different from the last time. Clearer, more real. A woman's voice. You should ask Sarah what happened that night. Click. The call cut off. I sat on the bed with my heart beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. A woman's voice. Who was she, and what had happened that night? The next day, I made another decision. I hired a private investigator. His name was Detective Miller. He had a small office downtown. A cousin who worked for the government had recommended him. I need you to investigate someone, I told him. Who my daughter-in-law, Sarah Hawkins. I told him everything. The calls, the photographs. Michael's messages, the voice on the phone. Detective Miller listened without interrupting. He took notes in an old notebook. How long was she married to your son? 5 years. Do you know where she worked? Where she lived before meeting Michael? She told me she was from Chicago, that she worked in marketing, but she never talked much about her family. Did you meet her parents? I stayed quiet because the truth was, I had not. Sarah always said her parents were busy, that they could not travel, that we would meet soon. But that soon never came. They did not even come to Michael's funeral. No, I admitted. I never met them. Detective Miller nodded. Give me a week. I am going to find out everything I can about Sarah Hawkins. During that week, the calls continued. Every night, at 3:33 in the morning. But I did not answer anymore. Instead, I recorded the calls. I documented everything. I also installed security cameras in the house, small, discreet, in the living room and the second-floor hallway in front of Michael's room. If someone was entering my house, I was going to find out how. On the 6th day, Detective Miller called me. Mrs. Turner, I need you to come to my office. Now. What did you find? I prefer to tell you in person. I went immediately. When I arrived, Miller had a folder open on his desk. It was full of documents, photographs, reports. Sit down, Mrs. Turner. I sat down. Miller took a deep breath. Sarah Hawkins does not exist. What? Well, she exists. But she is not who she claims to be. He showed me a photograph. It was Sarah, but younger, maybe 10 years ago. This is from an Illinois newspaper from the year 2011. Her real name is not Sarah Hawkins. It is Sarah Brennan. Why would she change her name? Because she is running from something or someone. Miller took out another document. Sarah Brennan was married before meeting your son to a man named Marcus Delacroix. They lived in New Orleans. What happened? Marcus Delacroix died under suspicious circumstances. He fell down the stairs of his house. He died instantly. Sarah was questioned, but there were never charges. I felt the floor move beneath my feet. Do you think she... I do not know, but there is something else. Miller showed me one last photograph. It was Sarah standing in front of a house. A house I recognized immediately. It was my house. This house. But the photograph had been taken 6 months before Michael met Sarah. Mrs. Turner said, Miller slowly, I believe Sarah did not meet your son by chance. While I tell you all this, I think of you. Where are you listening to me? At home, at work? Up late like me so many nights. Write the name of your city in the comments. I want to know I am not alone in this. When you discover that everything you thought you knew was a lie, the world does not collapse all at once. It crumbles slowly like an old wall that has been cracking in silence for years. And you You just stand there trying to hold the pieces with your hands. I left Detective Miller's office, my legs shaking. I walked several blocks aimlessly. I needed air. I needed to think. Sarah was not who she said she was. She had been married before. Her husband had died, and she had known my house before knowing Michael. None of this was a coincidence. But then what was it? A plan? A scam? Revenge? Or something worse? When I got home, it was already dark. I entered slowly. I turned on the lights. Everything seemed normal, silent. But I could no longer trust the silence. I went up to my room. I took out the folder Miller had given me. I opened it on my bed. I started reading every document carefully. Police report, New Orleans, Louisiana, March 14, 2011. At 10:47 p.m., officers responded to a 911 call at 482 Laurel Street. The caller, Sarah Brennan, reported that her husband, Marcus Delacroix, had fallen down the stairs of their residence. Upon arriving at the scene, officers found Mr. Delacroix unconscious on the first floor. Paramedics declared him dead at the scene. Mrs. Brennan stated that her husband had been drinking that night, that they had an argument, that he went up the stairs angry, and that she heard the thud minutes later. No signs of struggle were found. No witnesses were found. The case was closed as accidental death. Accidental death. But Miller had underlined something in the margin of the report. Neighbors reported screams that night, previous calls for domestic violence. Marcus Delacroix's family insisted on a deeper investigation, but it never went anywhere. I kept reading. There were more documents, bank reports. Sarah had inherited all of Marcus's money, $200,000 in life insurance, the house, the cars, and 3 months later, Sarah Brennan disappeared. She sold everything. She changed her name. She moved to the Midwest. Why here, and how did she end up with my son? I searched the folder until I found a copy of Sarah and Michael's marriage certificate. Date, June 15, 2018. Location, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Witnesses, 2 names I did not recognize. Michael never invited me to his wedding. He told me 3 months later, almost as if it were a casual comment. Mom, Sarah, and I got married. It was something small, intimate. I hope you understand. I said I understood, but the truth is it hurt. It hurt not having been there, not having seen him happy that day. Now I wondered if he had really been happy, or if Sarah had manipulated him from the beginning. I heard a noise downstairs, a thud, as if someone had closed a door. I got up slowly. I took my phone. I opened the security camera app. I checked the living room. Nothing. I checked the second-floor hallway. Nothing. I checked the camera in front of Michael's room. The door was open. I had left it locked that morning. I walked down the stairs in silence. My heart was beating so fast I thought I was going to faint. I reached the second floor. I walked down the hallway. The door to Michael's room was ajar. There was light inside. I pushed the door, and what I saw froze me. Sarah was there, standing in front of Michael's desk, with a cardboard box in her hands, going through papers, photographs, documents. Sarah. She spun around suddenly. Her face went pale. Evelyn, I can explain. What are you doing in my house? How did you get in? She put the box on the desk. I have a key. Michael gave me a key years ago. And do you think that gives you the right to enter whenever you want, to go through his things? It is not what you think, Evelyn. Oh no, then tell me, what is it? Sarah took a deep breath. She sat on Michael's bed. She covered her face with her hands. I am looking for something. What? Something. Michael hid. Something I need to find before it is too late. Too late for what? She looked at me with eyes full of tears. Evelyn, there are things you do not know, things Michael never told you, things I should not know either. Then tell me now. I cannot. Why not? Because if I tell you, you will be in danger just like me. I walked closer to her. I sat by her side. Sarah, listen to me carefully. I am already in danger. I receive calls every night. I find things that should not be here. Voices, messages. And now I discover that you are not who you claim to be either. She opened her eyes wide. What do you mean I know your real name is not Sarah Hawkins? I know you were married before. I know your husband died. And I know you knew this house before meeting Michael. Sarah remained silent. Then she let out a bitter laugh. "So you already know." "I know nothing. That is why I need you to tell me the truth. The whole truth." She got up. She walked to the window. She looked out at the dark street. "My real name is Sarah Brennan," she said finally. "And it is true that I was married before to Marcus Delacroix. Did you kill him?" "No. But everyone believed I did, including his family. That is why I had to flee. Change my name, start over. And why did you come here? Because someone helped me. Someone who offered me protection. A new identity. A new life. Who Sarah turned around." She looked me straight in the eyes. Michael's father. I felt as if I had been thrown into a void. "What did you say, Richard, your husband? He was the one who helped me." "That is impossible. Richard died 7 years ago." "I know. But before dying, he offered me help. He told me he knew people, that he could give me new documents, that he could protect me." "How did you meet Richard?" "Through his work. He was a legal consultant, right? He worked with international companies. I needed legal help after Marcus's death. I hired his firm. He handled my case. And what happened? We became friends. He was very kind to me. He listened to me. He believed me when no one else did. And when things got dangerous in the States, he offered me a way out." "Dangerous? What do you mean?" Sarah sat down again. She closed her eyes. "Marcus's family did not accept that his death was an accident. They hired private investigators. They started following me, threatening me. They wanted me to confess. They wanted revenge. And Richard brought you here." "Yes, he got me a visa, a new passport, a new name. And he told me that if I needed work, he knew people who could help me. And that is how you met Michael." Sarah nodded. "Richard introduced me to him. He told me Michael was looking for someone to help him with international projects. I needed money. I needed to feel useful. So I accepted. And did you fall in love with him?" "Yes. At first it was not my intention. But Michael was. He was different, gentle, funny. He made me feel safe. Did Michael know the truth about you?" Sarah took a moment to answer. "At first, no, but a year after we got married, I told him everything." "And how did he react?" "He got angry. He felt betrayed. But later he told me he understood that we all have secrets, that he also had things he had never told me. What things, he never told me. But he started to change, to distance himself, to act strange." I stared at her, trying to process everything I had just heard. My husband had helped Sarah. He had given her a new identity. He had brought her to this city. He had connected her with Michael. Why? And what secrets did Michael have that he never shared with anyone, Sarah? What are you looking for in this room? She looked at me with desperation. A phone. Michael had a phone he used to talk to someone, a phone he never showed me. I think it is hidden here. Why do you need that phone? Because the answers are there. The truth about what really happened the night Michael died is there. What do you mean by what really happened? Michael died in an accident. Sarah took my hands. Her eyes were full of tears. Evelyn, Michael's accident was not an accident. What? Someone killed him, and I know who it was. Before I could respond, we heard a noise downstairs, the front door opening. Footsteps in the living room. Someone had entered the house. Sarah looked at me with terror. Were you expecting someone? No. Then who is it? The footsteps began to go up the stairs. Slowly, one by one, Sarah got up. She ran to the door. She locked it. We have to get out of here. Now. Who is it, Sarah? Who is downstairs? She did not answer. She ran to the window. She opened it. There is a fire escape. We can go down this way. I am not running away from my own house. I am going to face whoever. A bang on the door interrupted us. Loud, violent. Then a voice, a man's voice, a voice I knew, a voice I had heard thousands of times in my life. Evelyn opened the door. It was the voice of Richard, my husband dead for 7 years. Have you ever felt that someone you love is lying to you? That something does not fit, but you cannot explain what? Tell me your story in the comments. There are sounds that haunt you all your life. The cry of your child when he was a baby, your mother's laughter in the kitchen, the voice of your husband saying your name for the first time. And when that voice returns from the grave, You do not know if it is a miracle or a curse." I stood paralyzed in front of the door. Richard's voice was still there on the other side. Firm, real, impossible. "Evelyn, I know you are there. Open the door. We need to talk." Sarah grabbed my arm. "Do not open it. Please do not open it. That is my husband's voice. It is not your husband, Evelyn. Your husband is dead." "Then who is it?" Another bang on the door, louder. "Evelyn, I do not have all day. Open the damn door." That way of speaking, that impatience. Richard was always like that, direct, impatient when things did not go his way. I pulled my arm from Sarah's grip. I walked to the door. "What are you doing?" Sarah whispered desperately. "I am going to know who it is." "Evelyn, no." I threw the door open, and what I saw made me step back. In front of me stood a man, tall, near 70 years old, gray hair, glasses, dark suit. It was not Richard, but he looked so much like him that for a moment I thought I was seeing a ghost. "Good evening, Evelyn," he said calmly. "I apologize for the intrusion." "Who are you?" The man smiled. It was a cold smile, calculated. "My name is Robert Vance. I was your husband's partner for 20 years. And I was also his best friend, Robert Vance." I remembered that name. Richard mentioned him from time to time, his partner at the law firm, the man who accompanied him to business dinners, to trips to New York, Miami, Houston. But after Richard's death, Robert disappeared. He never came to the funeral. He never called me. He never offered help. "What are you doing in my house?" I asked. "I came to look for something that belongs to me. There is nothing of yours here. I am afraid you are mistaken, Evelyn." Robert took a step toward me. "Your husband kept something he should not have kept, and now I need to recover it before it falls into the wrong hands." Sarah stepped out of the shadows behind me. "Robert!" He looked at her. His expression changed. It became harder, more dangerous. "Sarah, I knew you were going to be here." "You were always so predictable. I am not going to let you get away with this. Get away with this." Robert let out a loud laugh. "My dear, I already got away with it years ago. The only thing I am doing now is cleaning up loose ends." I looked at Sarah, then at Robert. "Is someone going to explain to me what is going on here?" Robert walked into Michael's room. He sat in the desk chair as if he were in his own house. "All right, I think it is time you knew the truth, Evelyn, the whole truth." Robert crossed his legs. He took a cigar out of his pocket. He lit it. "Your husband Richard was not just a lawyer. He was a facilitator. A facilitator of what? Of business. Delicate business. He helped people with legal problems disappear, to change identity, to move money across borders without leaving a trace. That is a lie. Richard was an honest man. Richard was a practical man." Robert smiled. "And very, very smart. For years he and I ran a complete network. Clients from all over the world. Politicians, businessmen, criminals who needed a second chance. I do not believe you. Ask Sarah. She was one of our clients." I looked at Sarah. She lowered her gaze. "It is true, Evelyn. Richard helped me flee the United States, to get fake documents, to start over. But I did not know. I did not know it was part of something bigger." Robert blew out the cigar smoke. Sarah was a simple case, a widow with problems. Richard helped her out of pity. But later, things got complicated. "What do you mean that Richard made a mistake?" "He grew fond of Sarah and decided to introduce her to his son." "Did Michael know all this?" "No. At first, no. Michael thought Sarah was just a temporary employee, but when they fell in love when they got married, Richard realized he had done something dangerous." "Why dangerous?" Robert looked me straight in the eyes. "Because if someone discovered who Sarah really was, if someone connected the dots between her Richard and our network, everything would collapse, and a lot of very powerful people would lose a lot of money." Sarah sat on the bed. She had her face in her hands. "When I told Michael the truth about my past, he investigated. He went through his father's files. He found documents, names, money transfers, and he discovered everything. And what did he do? At first, nothing. He stayed quiet. But I noticed that something had changed in him. He was paranoid, scared. He said someone was following him, that he was receiving threatening calls. Who was threatening him?" Robert put out his cigar in the ashtray on Michael's desk. "Me." The word hung in the air like poison. You killed my son. Not directly, but I organized his accident. Yes, I felt the world stop. My breath, my heart, everything. Why? Because Michael was going to talk. He had contacted a journalist. He had proof documents Richard had kept before dying. If that information came to light, everything I worked for over 30 years would be destroyed. You are a monster. I am a businessman, and business requires difficult decisions. Sarah stood up suddenly. You came for the phone, right? The phone Michael hid. Exactly. It is the last loose end. Michael recorded conversations. He kept evidence. And if I do not find it before someone else does— You are not going to find it, said Sarah, because I already know where it is. Robert stood up. Then tell me, and what will you give me in return? Your life. And Evelyn's. Sarah let out a bitter laugh. You were always a bad negotiator. Robert, because we both know that even if I give you the phone, you are not going to leave us alive. You are right. But if you do not give it to me, things will be much more painful. Robert reached into his jacket. He pulled out a gun. Small black silencer included. My body froze. It does not have to be like this, Robert said Sarah with a trembling voice. We can reach an agreement. The only possible agreement is that you give me that phone now. And afterwards, we will have to invent a tragic story. 2 women, a robbery gone wrong. Very common in this city. He pointed the gun at Sarah. Last chance. Sarah took a deep breath. Okay, I will give it to you, but it is hidden. I need to go look for it. Then go. You have 2 minutes. Sarah left the room. I stayed there looking at Robert, trying to understand how a man could be so cold, so calculating. You know one thing, Evelyn, said Robert, without stopping, pointing at the door. Richard always told me you were the only person in his life who never suspected anything, that you trusted him blindly. I told him that was dangerous, that one day you were going to discover the truth. But he insisted that you would never ask uncomfortable questions. Richard was right. I trusted him. And now I know he lied to me for 30 years, that he built a life on secrets and betrayals, that he put our family in danger. Are you angry with him? I am shattered. Robert nodded. That is what happens when you love too much. You become vulnerable. Sarah returned 2 minutes later. She was carrying a phone in her hand, an old iPhone, cracked screen. Here it is. Robert took it. He checked it. He turned it on. He asked for the password. Sarah gave it to him. Robert started reviewing the content. Photographs, messages, audio recordings. His expression changed. He tensed up. This is everything. Yes. Did you make copies? No. Robert looked at her with distrust. How do I know you are telling me the truth? You do not know, but it is the only thing I have to offer you. Robert put the phone in his pocket. Then he pointed the gun again. I am sorry it ended like this, Sarah. I really am. Wait. You said if I gave you the phone. I said many things, but we both know I cannot leave you alive. Robert took the safety off the gun, and at that moment we heard sirens outside. Many sirens, approaching fast. Robert ran to the window. He looked down at the street. There were patrol cars, 4, 5, red and blue lights illuminating the whole block. What did you do? He screamed at Sarah. She smiled. I called the police before leaving the room. I told them there was an armed intruder in the house. I gave them your name, your description, everything. Damn you. Robert aimed at Sarah, but before he could shoot, I grabbed the lamp from Michael's desk and smashed it over his head. Robert fell to the floor. The gun slid across the wooden floor. Sarah ran and grabbed it. Downstairs, the police were shouting. Police opened the door. Sarah looked at me. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. This is not over. The police entered. They arrested Robert. They asked us questions. They took our statements. Michael's phone was confiscated as evidence. They told us we would have to go to the station the next day to expand on our testimonies. When they finally left, Sarah and I were left alone in the living room. It was almost 5 a.m. Outside it was starting to dawn. So everything was true, I asked. Richard really ran a criminal network? Yes. And Michael discovered everything. That is why they killed him. And the calls, the voices, the phenomena in this house. Sarah looked at me with sadness. That was me, Evelyn. What I made the calls. I moved the things. I wrote the messages. Everything. Why? Because I needed you to investigate, to ask questions, to discover the truth. I knew if I told you directly, you would not believe me. But if you thought Michael was trying to communicate with you, you manipulated me. Yes, and I am sorry. But it was the only way to protect us both. Robert was following me. He knew I had the phone. And he knew sooner or later he would come for it. I stared at her. Part of me wanted to scream at her, hate her, kick her out of my house. But another part understood. Sarah had lost 2 husbands. She had lived running away for years. She had been used by Richard, threatened by Robert, and now we were both free. But at what price? I still wonder if I did the right thing, trusting Sarah. And you? What would you have done in my place? Would you have forgiven someone who lied to you, even if it was to save you? The truth never comes complete. It arrives in fragments, in sharp pieces that you have to put together with bleeding hands. And when you finally see the full picture, you discover there were pieces you should never have found. The days after Robert's arrest were strange. The police summoned us 3 times. Statements, additions, confrontations with Robert's lawyers who tried to discredit our version. But Michael's phone spoke for itself. There were recordings of conversations between Robert and Richard, bank transfers, names of clients, politicians, businessmen, even a governor. The press started publishing headlines. Fake identity network operated for 30 years. Prominent lawyer involved in international criminal network. Widow reports murder of her son for cover-up of crimes. My name appeared in the newspapers. My photograph. Michael's story. Neighbors who never spoke to me now looked at me with pity, or with morbid curiosity. I stopped leaving the house. Sarah stayed with me during those weeks. At first it was uncomfortable. I was still processing everything. Richard's betrayal, Sarah's manipulation, Michael's death. But little by little we started talking. Not about the case, not about Robert or Richard, about small things, everyday things. She made coffee in the mornings. I cooked. We watched old movies at night. It was weird, but it was also comforting. 2 broken women trying to survive together. One afternoon while we were in the kitchen, Sarah asked me, "Did you ever suspect Richard?" I stayed quiet, washing the dishes, looking out the window toward the garden. Sometimes I admitted finally there were nights he arrived late, smelling of perfume that was not mine, with excuses too elaborate. And what did you do? Nothing. I believed him. Or I pretended to believe him. Because it was easier than facing the truth. Do you think he was unfaithful to you? I do not know what to believe anymore, Sarah. I do not know who Richard really was. Sarah approached, put her hand over mine. I want to show you something. We went up to the 2nd floor to Michael's room. Sarah opened the closet, moved some boxes, took out a wooden board from the bottom. Behind it was a hidden space and inside more documents. I found this 2 weeks ago, said Sarah before Robert came. I did not show it to you because I did not know if you were ready. What is it, Richard's real file? Everything he hid for years. I took the folder. I opened it. There were photographs, fake passports, altered birth certificates, and at the bottom, a letter handwritten in Richard's handwriting, addressed to me. Dear Evelyn, if you are reading this, it means something went wrong. It means my decisions finally caught up with me. I know I deserve your hate. I know I lied to you for years. I know I put our family in danger. But I need you to understand something. Everything I did for you, for Michael, to give us the life we deserved. When I started with Robert, it was just a job helping people with legal problems. But the money was so good and the opportunities so big that I could not stop. I told myself I was helping innocent people, people who had made mistakes but deserved a second chance. But the truth is, I also helped criminals, dangerous people. And with every client, I sank deeper. I tried to get out several times, but Robert always dragged me back. He reminded me that I knew too much, that if I talked, he would make sure you and Michael paid the price. So I kept going year after year, lying, hiding, building a life on sand. And now I am afraid, Evelyn. Afraid that Robert will discover I kept copies of everything. Afraid that he will come for you, for Michael. If something happens to me, look for Detective Miller. He is a private investigator I trust. He has instructions to help you. And please forgive me. I always loved you. Always. Richard. I folded the letter. I put it in my pocket. I did not cry. I had no tears left. Did you know about this? I asked Sarah. No. I found it by chance. I was looking for Michael's phone and there it was. Richard was protecting me, in his own way, yes, but he also put us in danger. That is love sometimes, Evelyn. Complicated, imperfect, full of decisions that seem right in the moment, but later. Sarah did not finish the sentence. There was no need. That night at 3:33 in the morning, my phone did not ring. For the first time in months, there was silence. I stayed awake anyway, waiting, listening. But nothing happened. The calls had ended. The ghosts had rested. Or at least that is what I thought. The next morning, a package arrived. They left it at the front door. No return address, no label. Sarah was in the kitchen when I found it. Were you expecting something? She asked me. No. We opened the package carefully. Inside was a USB drive and a typewritten note. There are more people involved than you think. Play this alone. Do not trust anyone. Sarah looked at me. Do you think it is a trap? I do not know, but I need to know what is in there. Then we watch it together. The note says, to watch it alone. Evelyn, I am not leaving you alone with this. Not again. I looked at her, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something more than guilt in her eyes. I saw loyalty. Okay. Together we went up to my room. I locked the door. I plugged the USB into my laptop. There was only one file, a video. I played it. The image was dark, blurry, as if it had been recorded with a hidden camera. But little by little, I started to recognize the place. It was a restaurant, an elegant one, white tablecloths, background music, and at a table in the back were Richard and Robert. But they were not alone. There was a third person with them, a woman, young, brunette, elegant. And when the camera zoomed in on her face, my blood froze. It was Monica, Richard's secretary, the woman who worked with him for 15 years, the one who came to the funeral, the one who hugged me crying, saying Richard was like a father to me. The video continued. Richard passed an envelope to Monica. She opened it. She checked the contents. She nodded. Then the three of them toasted, as if they were celebrating something. The video ended. Sarah and I remained in silence. Who is she? Sarah asked. Monica Reeves. Richard's secretary. Or, that is what I thought she was. Do you think she was also involved? I do not know. But someone wants me to know. Someone sent me this. Who, before I could answer, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. Unknown number. I answered. Hello, silence. Then a voice. Distorted. Electronic. Good morning, Evelyn. Did you see the video? Who are you? Someone who wants to help you. Someone who knows the whole truth. What truth? That Robert did not act alone. That there are more people protecting themselves. And that if you are not careful, you will end up like Michael. What do you want from me, Justice? Just like you. But to get it, you need to know who really betrayed your family. Tell me. Monica Reeves was not just Richard's secretary. She was his lover, and the mother of his secret son. The line cut off. I froze. Sarah grabbed my arm. What did they say? I could not speak. I could not breathe. Richard had a secret son, with Monica. All this time he had another family, another life, and I never knew. Sarah helped me sit on the bed. Breathe, Evelyn. Breathe. How could he do this to me? We do not know if it is true. It could be a lie, a trap. And if it is not, and if Richard really... I could not finish the sentence. Sarah hugged me, and for the first time since Michael's death, I cried. I cried for everything I had lost, for everything I never had, for the life I thought was mine, but was always a lie. When I finally calmed down, Sarah told me, we need to find Monica. We need to ask her questions. I do not know where she is. After Richard's funeral, I never heard from her again. Then we look for her. We hire Miller again. We investigate. What for Sarah to confirm that my entire life was a farce? No. So you have answers, so you can close this chapter and move on. I looked at Sarah. This woman who had also been deceived, manipulated, used, and who was now here offering me support. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "After everything that happened after the lies?" Sarah smiled sadly. "Because we are both survivors, Evelyn, and survivors have to look out for each other." That afternoon, I called Detective Miller. I told him about the video about the anonymous call about Monica. "Let me investigate," he said. "In 3 days you will have answers." And I had them. But they were not the answers I expected. They were much worse. Have you ever discovered something about someone you love and wished you had never known? Do you believe the truth always sets you free, or sometimes it just destroys? Tell me in the comments. There are betrayals that break you, and there are betrayals that rebuild you. Because when you lose everything, when you discover that your whole life was a staged set, you are finally free to be who you really are, not who they told you to be. Detective Miller arrived at my house on a Thursday afternoon. He brought another folder thicker than the previous one. Sarah and I were waiting for him in the living room. We had made coffee, but neither of us touched it. Mrs. Turner said, "Miller," as he sat down, "what I am going to tell you is not going to be easy to hear." "Nothing is easy anymore, Miller. Just tell me the truth." He opened the folder. "Monica Reeves is 42 years old. She started working with your husband in the year 2005. According to records, she was an administrative assistant, but over time she became much more. His lover, yes, and she does indeed have a son. His name is David. He is 16 years old. 16 years old. I did the math quickly in my head. Richard died 7 years ago, which meant that when David was born, Richard was still alive. He was still with me. He still told me he loved me every night before sleeping. Did Richard know about the boy? Yes. There are records of monthly transfers to an account in Monica's name. $10,000 every month for 16 years. $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year, almost $2 million in total. Money I never knew existed. Money that came from... Where did Richard get that money? I asked. Miller looked at me with pity. From the network with Robert, from the clients, from the commissions for the fake documents. So not only had he cheated on me with another woman, he had also used dirty money to support her to support his other son, while I lived believing we were a happy family. "There is more," said Miller. "What else can there be? Monica was not just Richard's lover, she was also his partner. She handled much of the logistics of the network, contacts, document deliveries, coordination with clients." Sarah leaned forward. "Does that mean she is also involved in Michael's murder? I cannot confirm it. But I can tell you that Monica was in contact with Robert after Richard's death, and that she continued working for the network until a few months ago." "And where is she now?" That is the interesting part. Monica disappeared 3 weeks ago. She left her apartment, took her son out of school, and no one knows where she is. 3 weeks. Sarah looked at me. "That was right after they arrested Robert." Miller nodded. "Exactly. I believe Monica fled because she knew Robert would talk, that he would rat her out, and that eventually the police would come for her. And the boy David, he is with her, probably hiding in some small town, or maybe they already left the country." I got up, walked to the window, looked at the garden. The flowers Richard had planted years ago were still there, red roses, his favorites. Now I understood why he traveled so much, why he came home late, why sometimes I found him distracted looking at his phone with an expression I never knew how to decipher. It was not work stress, it was guilt. It was the weight of living 2 lives. "Do you think Richard loved Monica?" I asked Miller without turning around. "I do not know, Mrs. Turner, but I do know he never stopped sending her money, that he protected her, that he ensured David had everything he needed." "And me? Did he love me?" Miller did not answer because we both knew the answer. Richard maybe cared for me, maybe respected me, maybe even felt affection. But love, true, unconditional, honest love, that love he gave to Monica and David. Sarah approached me. "Evelyn, I know it hurts, but we need to focus. We need to find Monica, because if she has information about Michael's murder, what is the point? Sarah, Michael is dead." Richard is dead. Robert is in jail. What else can we do? We can ensure all those responsible pay. We can ensure Michael gets justice. Justice is not going to bring him back, I know, but it will give you peace. And right now, peace is the only thing we have left. Miller took another photograph out of his folder. This is Monica. The photo is recent from 2 months ago. I took it. I looked at it. She was a beautiful woman, long dark hair, big eyes, perfect smile, much younger than me, much more alive. "And is this a photo of David?" I asked, pointing to another image. Miller nodded. I took it, and when I saw the boy, my breath cut short. David was identical to Michael. The same eyes, the same face shape, the same smile. It was like seeing my son when he was 16. "My God," I whispered. "I know," said Miller. "The resemblance is undeniable." I felt my legs shaking. Sarah helped me sit down. Michael had a brother, I said, and I never knew. "Half-brother," corrected Miller. "It does not matter, he was his brother. And Richard never told me anything." That night I could not sleep. I stayed awake looking at David's photograph, trying to imagine how everything would have been if I had known, if Richard had told me the truth, if Michael had met his brother, if the two families could have, I do not know, coexisted united. But Richard never gave us that chance. He chose secrecy, he chose the lie, and now we were all paying the price. At 3 a.m, my phone rang. It was not the usual time, but my heart raced anyway. I answered. "Hello, Evelyn." "It is me." The voice was a woman's, trembling, scared. "Who is this Monica?" I sat up in bed suddenly. "How did you get my number?" "That does not matter. I need to talk to you. In person." "Why would I talk to you?" "Because I know who really killed Michael. And it was not Robert. Robert confessed. Robert lied. He did it to protect someone else, someone much more dangerous. Who I cannot tell you over the phone. But if you want to know the truth, if you want justice for Michael, you need to meet me. Where tomorrow? At 6 p.m, at Central Park. Come alone, and do not tell anyone, not even Sarah. Why not Sarah? Because Sarah also has secrets, Evelyn. Secrets that would destroy you if you knew them. And she hung up. I sat in the darkness, with the phone in my hand. Sarah had secrets. Monica knew who killed Michael, and I was trapped in the middle of a web of lies so tangled that I no longer knew who was the victim and who was the villain. The next morning, Sarah asked me, "Are you okay? You look tired. I did not sleep well. Nightmares." Something like that. She made coffee. She served it to me. She sat in front of me. "Evelyn, I know all this has been horrible, but I want you to know I am here, that you are not alone." I looked at her, trying to decipher if she was being sincere or if she was just another actress in this theater of deceit. "Sarah, is there anything you have not told me?" She frowned. "What do you mean, about you? About your past? About anything?" Sarah lowered her gaze. "Evelyn, I already told you everything. My life in Chicago, Marcus, Richard, everything. Are you sure?" "Yes. Why do you ask?" I just want to make sure I can trust you." Sarah extended her hand across the table. She took mine. "You can trust me." "I promise." I nodded, but I did not believe her. That afternoon at 5:30, I left the house. I told Sarah I was going to the pharmacy, that I needed medication to sleep. She offered to accompany me, but I told her I needed air, to be alone. I took a cab. I gave him the address of Central Park. I arrived 10 minutes before 6. I sat on a bench near the fountain. I waited. At 6 sharp, a woman sat next to me. It was Monica, thinner than in the photograph, wearing sunglasses, hair tied back. "Thank you for coming," she said without looking at me. "Tell me what you know." "Are you not going to ask me about David, about my relationship with Richard?" "I already know enough about that. I came for Michael." Monica nodded. "Michael discovered the network 2 years ago. He found documents of his father's, recordings, evidence, and he decided to do something about it. He contacted a journalist. Not just a journalist. He also contacted the FBI. He was building a case. He wanted to dismantle the whole operation, and Robert knew, yes. But Robert did not make the decision to kill him. Then who? Monica looked me straight in the eyes. Me. The world stopped. What I ordered them to kill Michael Evelyn, because if he exposed the network, everything would collapse. Robert would go to jail. Me too. And David. David would be left alone. You killed my son. To protect your son. Yes. I do not know what happened next. I only know I stood up. That I screamed at her. That people started looking at us. And that Monica, with tears in her eyes, told me, I am sorry, Evelyn. I am so sorry. But I had no choice. And now I need you to help me. Help you? Are you crazy? The person who sent you the video, the one who called you, the one who is giving you information. What about that person? It is Sarah. Have you ever trusted someone with all your heart and then discovered that trust was your worst mistake? The truth hurts, but the lie kills. There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew collapses, and you stay there, standing in the rubble wondering if you ever really knew anyone, or if you only loved ghosts with borrowed names. Monica grabbed my arm when I tried to walk away. Evelyn, listen to me, please. I have nothing to hear from you. You killed my son. I know, and I am going to pay for it. But first you need to know the whole truth about Sarah. What truth? Sarah is not who she claims to be. She never was. I already know she changed her name. I already know about Marcus. No, it is more than that. Monica looked around nervous. Sarah never came to this city fleeing Marcus's family. She came because Richard hired her. Hired her what for? To watch Michael. I felt the ground move beneath my feet. What are you saying? Michael started suspecting his father 3 years ago. He started asking questions, going through documents, Richard realized. And he was afraid Michael would discover everything, and he hired Sarah to get close to him, to control what he discovered and what he did not. To report to Richard every movement Michael made. You are lying. I wish I were lying. Monica took out her phone. She searched for something. She showed it to me. These are messages between Richard and Sarah from 4 years ago. I looked at the screen. Richard. How is it going with him, Sarah? He is interested. I think in a month I can be in. Richard. Good, but be careful. He is smarter than he looks. Sarah. Do not worry. I know what I'm doing. Richard. Remember, your job is to keep him distracted, nothing more. Sarah. Understood. I kept reading. There were dozens of messages, months of conversations. Sarah reporting every outing of Michael's, every person he talked to, every document he reviewed, and Richard. Richard giving her instructions, telling her how to manipulate him, how to keep him close. My God, I whispered. Sarah was planted in Michael's life from the beginning, said Monica. Their romance, their marriage, everything was part of a plan. And Michael never realized no at first. But later he started to suspect. He found something Sarah could not hide. What a bank statement. Sarah was receiving payments from Richard. Michael discovered it 6 months before dying. He confronted her. She denied it. She told him they were loans, that Richard was helping her because she had debts. And did Michael believe her? No. That is why he contacted the journalist. That is why he started building the case, because he no longer trusted anyone, not even his own wife. I stayed quiet, processing, trying to make sense of everything. If Sarah worked for Richard, why did she help me discover all this? Why did she show me the documents? Why was Robert arrested? Because Sarah is smart. When Richard died, she lost her main protection. She knew eventually Robert would come for her. So she did the only thing she could do. What? She used you. She manipulated you so you would do the dirty work. She faked the calls. She moved things in your house, everything so you would investigate, so you would discover Robert. And when he was arrested, she was free. But Robert confessed. He said he ordered Michael's murder because Sarah convinced him. She told him if he took all the blame, she would protect his assets, his money, his family. But in reality, she was just eliminating him from the board. Monica leaned toward me. Sarah is the true mastermind behind everything, Evelyn, and now she is in your house, living with you, earning your trust. And when she has what she needs, what does she need? You, dead, just like Michael. I stepped back. I felt nauseous. Why are you telling me all this? Because I am also on her list. Sarah sent me messages, threats. She told me if I did not disappear, she would hand over evidence to the police incriminating me completely. And since I was the one who ordered... Monica could not finish. She covered her face with her hands. I did not want Michael to die, Evelyn. Believe me, I just wanted to scare him, make him stop investigating. But the person I hired went too far. And when I knew it was already too late... Who killed him? A man. His name is Oscar Reed. He was Robert's driver. I paid him $50,000 to make it look like an accident. And where is that man now? Dead. He died 2 months ago, shot on a corner in the South Side. The police said it was a robbery. But I know the truth. Sarah. Sarah. I got up. I walked a few steps. I took a deep breath. All this time, Sarah had been playing with me, faking support, faking loyalty, while she planned what? To kill me, keep the house. The money. What do you want me to do? Monica, go to the police, turn you in. No. I want us to have a truce, that we work together, because if Sarah gets away with it, we will both end up dead or in jail. And why should I trust you? You killed my son, because I am the only person being honest with you right now. Monica looked at me with eyes full of tears. I made a terrible mistake, a mistake that will haunt me the rest of my life, but if you give me a chance, I can help you stop Sarah before it is too late. I did not answer. I did not know what to answer. Monica got up. She took a card out of her purse. She gave it to me. This is my number. New, secure. If you decide you want to talk, call me. But do it soon, because Sarah is planning something, and I do not think we have much time. She left. She disappeared among the people in the park, and I stayed there alone with the card in my hand, trying to decide if I had just spoken to a remorseful killer or just another manipulator. When I got home, it was already dark. Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner. "Where were you?" she asked me with a smile. "Did you take long?" There was a line at the pharmacy. "Did you get your pills?" Yes, I lied. I had not gone to any pharmacy. Sarah served 2 plates of pasta. We sat down to eat. We talked about unimportant things, the weather, news on the television, nothing. But the whole time I watched her looking for signs, cracks in her mask, something to tell me if Monica had told the truth, or if she was just trying to sow distrust. After dinner, I went up to my room. I locked the door. I took out my laptop. I searched for the name. Oscar Reed, driver, death, South Side. I found a note in a local newspaper. 38-year-old man killed in neighborhood. Authorities investigate. The date, 2 months ago. Monica had not lied about that. I kept searching. I searched for the relationship between Richard and Sarah. Bank transfers, records, and there they were, monthly deposits, from Richard's account to Sarah's account. $2,000 every month for 3 years, until Richard's death. My God, I whispered. Everything was true. Sarah had been hired to watch Michael, and I had let her into my life, into my house, into my trust. I heard footsteps outside my door. "Evelyn." "Are you okay?" It was Sarah. "Yes. I am just tired. Can I come in?" "No. I am going to sleep now." "Okay. Good night." I heard her footsteps walking away. I waited 5 minutes. Then I opened the door slowly. The hallway was empty. I went down the stairs in silence. I reached the ground floor. Sarah was in the living room, on her laptop, typing something. I hid behind the wall, watching. She typed fast, focused. Then she closed the laptop. She picked up her phone. She dialed a number. "It is me," she said in a low voice. "Yes, everything is going according to plan. She suspects nothing." "No, not yet, but soon." "Relax. I know what I'm doing. 3 days. Give me 3 days and it will be ready. See you." She hung up. I ran up to my room. I closed the door. I leaned against it. Sarah was planning something. Something that would be ready in 3 days. And that something involved me. I took my phone. I took out the card Monica had given me. I dialed the number. It rang 3 times. "Evelyn." You were right. Sarah is planning something. I need your help. Where are you in my house? But I do not know how long it is safe to stay here. Listen to me. Tomorrow morning, leave the house. Say you are going to the bank. I will be waiting for you on the corner, and I will take you to a safe place. And then we are going to teach Sarah a lesson she will never forget. That night, I did not sleep. I stayed awake, with the door locked, a chair against the door, waiting, listening, and at 3:33 in the morning, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. I know you talked to Monica. It was a mistake, but you can still fix it. Trust me, Evelyn, I am the only friend you have. It was Sarah, and now she knew that I knew. I got up. I packed a small bag. Important documents, money keys. I waited until dawn. At 7 in the morning, I went down. Sarah was having breakfast. "Good morning," she said with a smile. "Good morning. I am going out. I need to go to the bank. Do you want me to go with you?" "No, it is something quick." "Okay, be careful." I left the house. I walked to the corner. There was a car waiting. Monica was at the wheel. I opened the door. I got in. "Ready?" she asked me. "Ready." And we drove off, leaving the house behind. The memories, the lies. Because the moment had come to take control of my own story. I was no longer going to be the victim. I was no longer going to be the woman waiting for answers. I was going to be the woman demanding justice, even if that meant facing all the demons of my past, one by one. Sometimes the only way out of the darkness is to go through it completely. Sometimes justice does not come alone. You have to go look for it. And when you find it, you cannot hesitate. Justice does not always come with sirens and handcuffs. Sometimes it comes in silence, like a shadow that follows you for years. And when it finally catches you, you realize that every decision you made was leading you exactly there, to the place where you were always meant to be. Monica drove for 40 minutes until we reached a building in the suburbs. It was a small apartment. 3rd floor, windows facing the street. "Whose place is this?" I asked. "Mine. I rented it a month ago, under a fake name. Sarah does not know it exists." We went in. The apartment was almost empty. A table, 2 chairs, a bed, some boxes. "It is not much said, Monica, but it is safe." I left my bag on the floor. I sat on one of the chairs. Now Monica took a laptop out of one of the boxes. She turned it on. "Now I show you everything I have on Sarah." And then we put together a plan. Over the next few hours, Monica showed me files, documents, recordings. Sarah had not only worked for Richard, she had also worked for other people, other powerful men who needed special services. Sarah is what they call an approach specialist, explained Monica. She is hired to get close to someone to earn their trust to extract information or control situations. A spy. Something like that, but without the glamorous part. More like an emotional mercenary. And how did Richard meet her? Through Robert. He used her first for a case in Houston, an inheritance dispute. Sarah got close to the client's son, became his girlfriend, and got him to sign documents that benefited our client. My God! When Richard needed someone to watch Michael, Robert recommended Sarah. He told him she was the best. Monica showed me a contract signed by Richard and Sarah. Personal consulting services, indefinite duration compensation, $2,000 a month plus bonuses for results. What were the bonuses for results? Valuable information. If Sarah discovered Michael was investigating something important, Richard paid her extra. Sometimes $5,000, sometimes $10,000. And what happened when Richard died? Sarah lost her main income, but by that time she was already married to Michael, so she decided to stay. She thought she could control the situation, keep the secrets buried, but Michael discovered the truth. Yes, and when he confronted her, Sarah panicked. She reported to Robert, and Robert called me. Monica stood up, walked to the window. Robert told me Michael was a problem, that if he talked, we would all go to jail, that we needed to stop him. And what did you say? That we should scare him, make him understand he should not mess with dangerous people. But Robert said that would not be enough, that Michael already had evidence that he had already spoken to journalists. Monica turned around. She had tears in her eyes. I did not want to kill him, Evelyn, I swear. I just wanted to protect David, make sure my son did not lose his mother, that he did not grow up knowing I was a criminal. But you killed him anyway. Yes, and not a single day goes by that I do not regret it. I did not know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream at her, hit her, make her pay. But another part saw a broken woman destroyed by her own decisions, just like me. Where is David now? I asked. With my sister in Indiana. I told him I had to resolve some legal matters, that I would be back soon. Does he know the truth? No, and he never will. If they take me to jail, they will tell him it was for fraud, for money laundering, but he will never know about Michael. And do you think that is fair, that your son lives in a lie, like I lived for 30 years? Monica looked at me with pain. I do not know what is fair anymore, Evelyn. I only know I want to protect him, even if it costs me everything. We spent the rest of the day reviewing information planning. Monica had recordings of conversations between Sarah and Robert, between Sarah and other clients, evidence of her previous jobs. Why did you keep all this? I asked. Because I always knew someday I would need it, that someday someone would betray me, and that my only defense would be the truth. And what do we do with all this information? We hand it to the police, but not just any police, someone trustworthy who is not on Robert or Sarah's payroll. Do you know someone like that? Yes, a district attorney. Her name is Anna Reynolds. She was a classmate of mine in college. She is incorruptible and she hates these kinds of networks. Do you trust her? With my life. That night, Monica called Anna Reynolds. She explained the situation. She told her she had evidence of a criminal network involving murder, money laundering, and corruption. Anna agreed to meet with us the next day. What about Sarah? I asked. She knows I talked to you. She knows I left the house. She is probably already looking for me. Let her look. The more desperate she is, the more mistakes she will make. And if she comes for me, she won't, because Sarah is smart. She knows if something happens to you now, she will be the first suspect. She needs everything to look natural. Natural how? An accident, a suicide, a death by medical causes. I felt a chill. Do you think she would have gone that far, Evelyn? Sarah already went that far. She killed the driver who executed Michael's murder. And I am sure she has a plan for me too. So what do? We get ahead of her. We strike before she can react. The next day we met with Anna Reynolds in a coffee shop downtown. She was a woman in her 50s, short hair, glasses, stern but fair look. Monica handed her a USB with all the information. Everything is here, she said. Recordings, documents, bank transfers, names, dates. Anna reviewed part of the content on her laptop. Her expression hardened with every file. This is incredible, she said finally. If this is true, we are talking about dozens of people involved. Officials, businessmen, lawyers. It is true, said Monica. I was there. I was part of it. Anna looked her straight in the eyes. Do you understand that with this confession, you will also go to jail? I know. But I need Sarah and everyone else to pay first. After that, I will accept my responsibility. Anna nodded. I am going to need both of you to give official statements, and I am going to need protection for you while we process all this. How long will it take? I asked. Days, maybe weeks. Depends on how fast we can verify the information and issue the arrest warrants. We do not have weeks, said Monica. Sarah is planning something, and if we do not stop her soon... Anna closed her laptop. Okay. I will give you immediate protection, and I am going to expedite the warrants, but I need you to stay in a safe place, no contact with anyone. Understood? We nodded. Anna took us to a DA safe house, on the outskirts of the city. It was a simple house, with guards outside, cameras, 24-hour security. You will be here until we have Sarah in custody, said Anna. Do not go out. Do not make calls. Do not use social media. How long? I asked. 48 hours, maximum 72. And she left. Monica and I were left alone in the house. It was strange, being there, with the woman who had ordered my son's death. But also, we were the only two people in the world who completely understood what we were going through. Do you think it will work? Monica asked that night. Do you think Sarah will pay for what she did? I do not know. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I am doing something, that I am not just a victim waiting for others to decide my destiny. Monica smiled sadly. I wish I had your strength 3 years ago. I wish I had said no when Robert asked me to." She did not finish the sentence. "What are you going to do when all this is over?" I asked. "When you go to jail, I'm going to write a letter to David, explaining everything, the truth, my mistakes, and I am going to ask him to be better than me, not to let fear turn him into a monster. Do you think he will forgive you? I do not know, but at least he will know the truth, and that is more than I had with my own mother." 2 days passed. Today. We already have the warrants. We are going to arrest Sarah tonight, at her house, Evelyn's house. "Yes," I replied. "Do you want to be present?" "Yes, I want to see her. I want to see her when she realizes she lost." Anna hesitated. "It is not protocol, but given that it is your house, I can make an exception. We will go at 9 at night. I will pick you up at 8 sharp." Anna arrived with 2 agents. I got into the car. Monica stayed at the safe house. It was safer that way. "Are you ready?" Anna asked me. "Ready." We drove to my house. My home. The place where I had lived for 30 years, the place where it all began, and where finally everything was going to end. We arrived at 9. There were 4 patrol cars outside, armed agents, a full team. Anna rang the doorbell. We waited. The door opened, and there was Sarah dressed in black, wearing makeup, as if she were expecting visitors. "Good evening," she said calmly. "How can I help you?" Anna showed her badge. "Sarah Brennan, also known as Sarah Hawkins, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, money laundering, and other charges that will be informed to you at the station." Sarah looked at me. There was no surprise in her eyes, only acceptance, as if she had known all along that this moment would come. "Hello, Evelyn," she said with a small smile. "I see you finally discovered the truth." "The whole truth," I replied. "Are you happy?" "Do you feel better now?" "I do not feel happy, but I feel free." Sarah let out a soft laugh. "Free. What an interesting word, because neither of us will ever be free, Evelyn. You will live with the weight of knowing your husband was a criminal, that your son died because of his own curiosity. And I will live in a cell, but at least I knew what I was getting into. And that makes you better than me. No, it just makes me more honest." The agents handcuffed her, took her to the car. Before getting in, Sarah turned around one last time. "Evelyn, there is something you should know. What Michael loved me truly. And I loved him too. At first it was just a job, but later it became real. And that is the part I will never be able to forgive myself for." And with that, she got into the car. The patrol cars left, the sirens faded into the distance, and I stayed there, standing in front of my house, finally alone, finally at peace. 3 days later, Sarah confessed everything. She implicated more people. The network was completely dismantled. Monica was arrested too. She confessed her participation. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Robert received life imprisonment. Sarah received 25 years. And I sold the house. I could not keep living there. Too many ghosts, too many memories. I moved to a small apartment in the city. I started working as a volunteer in an organization that helps women victims of fraud and manipulation. Because if my story could help someone, if my pain could turn into wisdom, then maybe, just maybe, all this had been worth it. A year later, I received a letter. It was from Monica from prison. "Dear Evelyn, I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect you to understand. But I want you to know that every day I think of Michael, of the son I took from you, of the brother David never knew. I have spent this year reflecting, attending therapy, trying to understand how I came to become the person I was, and the only answer I have found is this fear. Fear of losing. Fear of not being enough. Fear that my son would grow up without me. But fear turned me into exactly what I feared most: an absent mother, a criminal, a monster. David visits me once a month. I told him the truth. He cried. He screamed at me. He stopped talking to me for 3 months. But now he comes and we talk, and little by little we are rebuilding something. I do not know if someday I can call it love, but it is something, and it is more than I deserve. Thank you for giving me the chance to face the truth, even though it cost me everything. Monica. I folded the letter. I put it in a drawer. I did not reply because I had nothing to say. Forgiveness was not something I could give her, but neither was hate, only acceptance. Acceptance that we are all human, imperfect, broken, and that sometimes life collects its debts in ways we never imagine. Sarah lost her freedom, Monica lost her son, Robert lost everything, and I lost the people I loved, but I gained something more valuable, the truth, and the certainty that I would never again allow anyone to lie to me. Never again. Life always collects its debts. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes decades, but eventually every action has its consequence. And when karma arrives, it does not ask if you are ready. There are wounds that never close completely, but over time you learn to live with them, to walk with the scar, to understand that pain does not define you. It is just part of your story, not your whole story. 3 years have passed since that night Sarah was arrested, 3 years since the world I knew completely collapsed, and now sitting on the balcony of my small apartment, drinking coffee while the afternoon sun paints the sky orange and pink, I can say I finally found something resembling peace. It was not easy getting here. The first months were the hardest, waking up every morning knowing Michael would never return, that Richard had lied to me for 30 years, that my entire life had been built on secrets and betrayals. There were days when I did not want to get up, days when I thought it would be easier to simply give up, but something inside me refused to do it. Maybe it was the memory of Michael, his laugh, his strength, the way he always told me, "Mom, you are stronger than you think." Or maybe it was simply the survival instinct, that stubborn spark that refuses to go out even in the deepest darkness. I started going to therapy twice a week, at first, then once, now only when I need it. My therapist, Dr. Lewis, helped me understand something fundamental, that the love I felt for Richard was real, even though he lied to me, that the love I felt for Michael is still real, even though he is no longer here, and that no lie can erase the true moments I lived, the laughter, the hugs, the conversations in the kitchen. Those moments were mine, and no one can take them away from me. I also learned to forgive not Richard, not Sarah, not Monica, myself, for having been naive, for having trusted blindly, for not having asked the right questions at the right time. For a long time I blamed myself. I thought if I had been smarter, more alert, more suspicious, maybe Michael would still be alive. But Dr. Lewis told me something that changed my perspective. Evelyn, you are not responsible for the decisions others took. It is not your fault to have loved. It is not your fault to have trusted. Those are virtues, not weaknesses. And little by little, I started to believe her. 2 years ago, I started working as a volunteer at Strong Women Rise, an organization that helps victims of fraud, manipulation, and emotional violence. At first, I only helped with administrative tasks, answering emails, organizing events. But later, I started sharing my story in small groups with women who had gone through similar situations. And I discovered something surprising, that my pain could help other people heal, that my story could give them hope, that by talking about what I lived, I was turning my tragedy into something useful, something meaningful. I met incredible women. Lisa, who discovered her husband had forged her signature to sell her house without her knowing. Patricia, who was manipulated for 15 years by a man who made her believe she was crazy every time she questioned his lies. Carmen, who lost her daughter in an accident that she later discovered was not an accident. All of them broken, shattered women, but also women who decided to get up, rebuild themselves, move on. And I learned from each one of them. I learned that pain is not the end, it is just a chapter, and that we decide how the story ends. A year ago, I received an unexpected visit. It was David, Monica's son, Michael's half-brother. He was 19 years old, tall, thin, with those same eyes Michael had. He knocked on my door one Saturday afternoon. "Mrs. Turner," he said with a trembling voice, "I am David Monica Reeves's son." I froze. I did not know what to say. Can I come in?" he asked. I nodded. I let him in. We sat in the living room. I made him tea. Neither of us knew how to start. Finally, he spoke. "My mom told me the truth 2 years ago, about everything about Richard, about Michael, about what she did. And how did you feel angry, betrayed? For months I did not speak to her, I did not visit her. I wanted to hate her. And now I'm trying to understand, to forgive, because in the end she is still my mom, and she made a terrible mistake, but she is not a monster. She is just a person who made wrong decisions out of fear. I looked at David, so young, so mature for his age. Why did you come to see me? He lowered his gaze. Because I wanted to meet you. I wanted to know if you hated me, if you blamed my mom and me. I do not blame you, David. You had nothing to do with what happened. But I am the son of the woman who killed your son. No, you are the son of a woman who made a mistake, and you are Michael's brother, and that is the only thing that matters to me. David looked up. He had tears in his eyes. Really? Really? David and I started seeing each other once a month. At first, we only talked about superficial things, school, his part-time job, the weather. But little by little, we started talking about Michael. I told him stories of when Michael was a child, of his pranks, of his dreams, of the person he was. And David told me about his life, his fears, his hopes, and I discovered that in some strange and painful way, I had gained a son. Not to replace Michael, no one could do that, but to honor his memory, to connect with the part of him that was still alive in David. 6 months ago, I went to visit Michael's grave, something I had not done in over a year. I brought flowers, red roses, his favorites. I sat on the grass in front of the tombstone and I talked to him as I used to. Hello, my love. I am sorry I took so long to come. I have been busy rebuilding myself, trying to make sense of all this. The wind blew softly as if he were listening. I met your brother, David. He is so much like you that sometimes it hurts to look at him, but also he gives me hope because I see your strength in him, your kindness. I wiped my tears. I do not know if I did the right thing, Michael. Forgiving, moving on. Sometimes I feel like I am betraying you, that I should be angrier, more broken. Silence. But I think you would want me to be happy to live, not to stay trapped in the past. I put my hand on the tombstone. I miss you every day, but it does not hurt as much anymore. And I think that is okay. I think that is part of healing. I stayed there another hour in silence, feeling the sun on my face, listening to the birds. And when I left, I felt something had been released inside me, as if Michael had finally given me permission to be happy again. Today is Sunday, the day that used to be the hardest, the day I used to visit Michael's grave, the day the silence of the house crushed me. But now, Sundays are different. David comes for breakfast. I make him coffee, just like I made for Michael. And we talk, we laugh, sometimes we cry. And little by little, I am rebuilding something resembling a family. Not the family I had, not the family I dreamed of, but a real honest family built on truth and not on secrets. Sometimes I ask myself, is it worth forgiving? Is it worth moving on when the pain is so deep you feel you will never heal? And the answer I have found is this. Yes, it is worth it, because forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. It is the way you free yourself from the weight of rage, from the poison of hate, from the prison of resentment. It does not mean forgetting. It does not mean justifying it. Simply means letting go. And when you let go, you can finally fly. Sarah is still in prison. I have not heard from her since her sentencing. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets it, if she thinks about Michael, if she understands the damage she caused, but in the end it does not matter, because her karma already caught up with her and will keep catching up with her every day she spends behind those bars. Monica writes from time to time short, respectful letters. I do not always reply, but when I do, I try to be kind because she is also paying every day away from her son, carrying the guilt of what she did. And I no longer need revenge. Justice has been done. I stand in front of the mirror every morning and I see a 69-year-old woman with wrinkles, with gray hair, with scars no one can see. But I also see a survivor, a woman who went through hell and came out the other side, not intact, not undamaged, but alive. And that is enough. If you are listening to this story, if you made it this far, I want you to know something. No matter how deep your pain is, no matter how many times they have lied to you, how many times they have betrayed you, you can heal, not overnight, not without work, not without tears, but you can, and when you do, you will discover something beautiful, that pain transformed you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and that your story, however painful, can help someone else find their way. This is my story, the story of a woman who lost everything, and who in losing everything found herself. I am not perfect. I still have bad days, I still cry, but I also laugh, I also love, I also live, and that is the only thing that matters, because in the end, life is not about avoiding pain, it is about learning to dance with it, to transform it, to turn it into wisdom. And if my story helps a single woman open her eyes, a single person to have the courage to seek the truth, even if it hurts, then all this will have been worth it. I look out the window. The sun is already setting. David will arrive in an hour with pastries from the bakery he likes. And tonight, like every Sunday, we will share stories, memories, dreams, and we will keep healing together, because that is how it is done, one day at a time, one story at a time, one scar at a time, until finally, you are free. My name is Evelyn Turner. I am 69 years old, and this is the story I kept too long. But now, finally, I can tell with the hope that it helps you, that it inspires you, that it reminds you that never, never is it too late to seek the truth, and that true love does not need lies to survive. It only needs honesty, courage, and faith. Faith that no matter how dark the night is, always, always the sun rises. Thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the bell to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and until next time.